everyone, it's Charmaine Mitchell with Alchemy Attitude Artistry. Today I thought that I would demonstrate a small bookmark. It's a 2" by 6" and the technique is going to be watercolor. That's watercolor paper that I have for my bookmark. The tools that I'm going to be using today are a number 5 round barrel brush. It's got a round barrel, but it's also got a pointed tip, so it's got a bit of a chiseled tip. I've got my paper towel to wipe my brush off on. I've got 2 pots of water, one for cleaning my brush and one as clean water in case I need it. The watercolor products that I'm going to be using today are a set by Mungyo, M-U-N-G-Y-O, and what I like about them is that it has a great variety of different colors within it, and I can work from one pan, so it's half pans that I'm using. And as I go along, because I don't know what I'm going to do on this particular watercolor today, I will tell you what the colors are that I'm using. Also, more than likely, we'll be using a Signo UniBall pen, which won't degrade in watercolors. If you touch it with water, it won't break down and it won't bleed. So it's a permanent ink pen, as well as another UniBall Signo white pen that I'll be using as well. And same thing for this one. It doesn't degrade in water either. So let's get started. I'm going to take my round brush, chiseled, and put it into my clean water and wipe it off on my paper towel, which of course you can't see. So I'll bring it up here so you can see it. And it looks like I had some color still left in that brush, so get rid of that green on that brush till it starts to be non-existent. And then I will dip it into my clean water, go into my pan and reconstitute my colors. And I think today I'm going to use Cerulean Blue. But before I do that, one of the things that I'm going to do for this technique is take just clean water on my brush and wipe it haphazardly on my bookmark. Add a little bit of water on there. Then what I'm going to do is I will take my brush into the clean water, pick up my Cerulean Blue, and just touch the surface of my bookmark where it's wet in random areas. Clean off my brush, get rid of the blue that was on it, go back into my clean water and pick up my next color. I think I'll use Indigo with that. Add a couple of touches of Indigo. Rid of the indigo on my brush in my dirty paint water, pick up my clean water and just add a little bit more water to the color that's already there, just to get it to move a little bit more. And because this will end up being a flower, I will take some green, and I'll use the greenish yellow and mix that greenish yellow with yellow green. Seems counterintuitive, but the two colors go really well together. Mix them together and then just touch my page in random spots as well. And all I'm trying to do is just make sure that I have a balance of the green along with the blue. Now you'll see my watercolor paper is very wet. And I'm adding more of the indigo where it faded. With watercolor dries much lighter than it looks on the page. So I've added a couple of extra spots and I'm just cleaning my brush, set my brush aside, and on my paper towel, to get kind of a dripping motion going, I can move my colors around and then tap it so that it looks like it has a bit of dripping happening at the bottom. And you'll see that green mixed in with the cerulean blue and made a really vibrant green, which is kind of fun. Now I'm going to set that aside because it's very wet and I want that to dry completely. Once that's dry, then what I'll do is I'll come back in with my black UniBall Signo Pen and I can create a lovely flower for our next step. Now that our bookmark and watercolors have dried, I'm going to create a very simple flower and then decorate it. So I'm going to start, if my flower petals are going to extend upward, I'm going to probably start somewhere in the neighborhood of the top third, bottom of the top third, and I'm going to start with a very small circle, and I'm wiggling my pen, and I'm going to make the center of my flower. And where I want to darken it up, I will. Now that I've got the center of my flower down, very simply going to come up in a straight line and do a bit of a petal. And then I'm going to do that all the way around the center, leaving a bit of space between my petals, which I will fill in after I've gone around once. I'm just turning my page to make it easier on my wrist. And I just carry on all the way around. And my petals don't have to all look the same, because if you look at a flower, no petals look the same. Everyone is different. Now that I've gone around once, I'm going to fill in the gaps. So I'm going to bring up a petal in between the petals. And where there's an extra large gap, I'm going to bring my petal down closer to the center. And where there's less room between the petals, I might have the petals actually overlap each other. This one. There we go. Now we have the basis of a petal and flower. And then at the bottom, from the center down, I need to draw kind of an imaginary line down to the bottom of this petal. And I'm going to showcase a part of the stem sticking out from underneath my petal. And I'm going to bring lines up and lines down. And then I'm going to take my pen and just draw down some lines for my stem. And because I'm very dark in this area, I'm going to darken it up just a little bit. There we go. So it shows up a little bit better. I'm just doing a flicking motion. Okay. Now I want to make my flower stand out from those dark colors. So I'm actually going to take my small round brush, wet it, and take it into a contrasting blue color. And create a bit of a puddle of the blue. And the blue that I'm using is permanent light blue. And I want it to be a bit transparent, not too opaque. So I'm adding a little extra water to it. And then I'm just going to color my petals. With watercolor, you achieve depth by layering your colors. Now I want my flower to stand out from that background. And with this particular light blue permanent, or permanent light blue, I might want to do something as a contrast in the center of my bloom, around the center. And I think maybe what I'll do is either silver or gold. I have a beautiful color called Moonlight, I think, and it's kind of a cross between a silver and a gold, so it's very light in color. And I think maybe I'll use that as my centerpiece for around the very center of my flower. It's a little dark. That petal is a little dark, so I'm going to come back in with a little bit more water on my brush just to lighten up that color a little bit. those are the petals done. Now I'm going to clean off my little brush. Make sure that there's no blue left in it. And go in. And I think the center of my flower, I'd like to have kind of a yellow-orange center. So I'm going to load my brush and just tap, tap, tap in the center of my flower. Now that I've got my color in there, I'm going to go back in and just remove just a little bit of it. What I can do, I'm losing those marks that I made with my magic marker with my UniBall Signo Pen. What I can do is leave it to dry and then go back in with my Signo pen and redraw those lines if necessary. The other thing that I'm going to do now is to pull out my Clearo Pearl colors. I don't know if you can see that, sorry, camera angle is such that I can barely see it. You'll see the very pretty, I think that's called Moon Gold. Moon Gold is a cross between a very light colored gold and silver. So I'll just add some water to it and get some on my brush and go in and just get close to, but not touch, that center of my flower. And I'm just gonna flick and pull down so that I create lines as if we have another contrasting color onto our petals of the moon gold. I'm just following along the contours of all of my petals. There we go. Now the gold in those pans dries very quickly, so every once in a while I have to go back in, add a little water to it because it dries really quickly. Okay, and I think I'm pretty happy with that so far. Now cleaning off my brush, I'm done with my moon gold. Cleaning off my brush. Now that my center of my flower is dry, I can go back in with more of that yellow orange and just brighten it up a little bit. I think I need a brighter orange than that, so I'm going to use orange. There we go. I want a little bit more orange in there. That's better. It stands out more. Okay. Now at this point, while that's drying and there's nothing that I can do about it, what I might do is take my ruler and draw a line down my stem with pencil. And I want a sharp pencil for this. Just going to do a very light, faint line there with my pencil and my ruler. And with my pencil, I'll put a word. What word will I write? How about be happy? There we go. Now that I've penciled it in, I'll take my black Signo UniBall and retrace over my words, because what I can do afterwards is remove my pencil once my ink dries. The trick with lettering is on the down strokes, you darken. Okay, we'll leave that to dry. And then I can come back and erase that. Let's go back in and give it some definition. I'm going to bring my stem down to the word happy. Just extend it a little bit, so it looks like it's part of the actual flower, and then extend my stem down as well, making it the same thickness along. And I'm going to take some pretty green, the same as what I've got in my background, which was the yellow green. No, sorry, greenish yellow and yellow green. And I'm going to load up my brush, and I'm just going to very carefully come down my stem so that my stem of my flower stands out a little bit more. Here we are. Okay. And while that dries, I can go back in and I can give some definition to my petals. And with sporadic, touching the end of the petal with my, oops, stuck my finger in the wet paint. Oops. Touch it to the end of the petal and bring it up in a fast flicking motion. And each one of them is a different size. So it makes my petals look like they're a little bit tattered. Windblown, perhaps. Now that my letters are dry, I can go back in with my eraser and erase my pencil marks. Not too aggressive, just enough to remove the pencil marks. And then I'm going to go into the center of my flower and put back in what was erased of the black for my center. And I'm going to take my pen and do the same flicking motion, just following the contours of the petals. Just going to add some contrast to my moon gold with the black so that the center shows up even more. Again, I'm just pen at the center and then flick backwards and lift up. Flick. There we go. And that is our bookmark. And what I will do is round off my corners, my 4 corners, spray it with Kmar varnish to protect it, because watercolor actually will fade over time, and the Kmar keeps it from fading. And then I put another coat of matte varnish over top of it, and then I actually laminate it after I've put my stamp on the back. And that is a demonstration of my bookmarks. Bring that up for you to see. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day and get creative. Bye.